guys, Gaijin Goomba here. Today, we're going to talk about Kid Icarus and how Japanese language and culture has an influence
Hey, aren't you going to introduce me?
Well, I was getting to that.
I'm Ronnie Edwards, host of Digressing and Sidequesting as well as Random Internet Encounters.
Right, so today we're going to talk about how Kid Icarus and how Japanese language...
Hey, wait a second. What's up with the... I mean, what, like, are you suffering from NES slowdown or something?
Moving along. So today we're going to talk about Kid Icarus and how Japanese language and culture influenced many aspects of the original Famicom Disk System / NES game.
Since I'm an animated compendium of all things Icarus, I'll be dropping all the knowledge on that front.
And I'll be backing him up with the various Japanese linguistic and cultural relevance, which there seems to be a lot of, huh? So let's begin with the title of the game.
Right, so Kid Icarus was not the original Japanese title of the game. The original title was... Hikari... Shinwa...
Hikari Shinwa Purante no Kagami, or Light Myth Palthena's Mirror. One would think a pretty lengthy title like that would be strange, but you'd be surprised at how often, even to this day, how lengthy Japanese titles can be.
Also, take a second to look at the last half. Palthena's Mirror. Palthena is actually a shortening of Pallas and Athena. Pallas Athena was the Greek goddess of wisdom and war. Fun fact, in high school I had to memorize all of the names of the 12 Olympian gods, as well as the names of the Roman counterparts, as well as their symbol, animal, and any kind of related information involved in this.
So, long story short, the goddess you have to save in Kid Icarus is named Parthenia, which is a Japanese pronunciation for Palthena, which is a shortening of Pallas Athena.
Kidception.
You know, if I had hands, I'd be strangling you right now.
Oh, you know what else doesn't have hands? Metroids!
Interesting observation.
No, I'm going somewhere with this. Kid Icarus heavily mirrors Metroid in many aspects. That's because they were made on the same engine, and many members of the Metroid team also worked on Kid Icarus, such as the lead director of many of the later Metroid games. Yoshio
Sakamoto.
Yeah, we'll get back to him. The second to last world, Skyworld, has enemies that resemble Metroids.
However, they aren't called Metroids in the English manual. They're called Kometo, which comes from Kometo, which we believe to be a shortened version of Kometroido, or Metroid Child in Japanese. Child perhaps referring to the fact that they were born out of the Metroid sprites from the game of the same name.
Speaking of children, did you know Phil Collins began his career as a child actor?
Not sure what that has to do with Kid Icarus.
Well, in the Skyworld portion of the game, enemies called Collins appear, and these little guys called Eli's fly out of them. Now, purportedly, these Eli's are called Phils in the Japanese version, which is an obvious reference to Phil Collins. There are also flying lips named Mick that are most likely a reference to Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones logo.
Lips? There's also a nose in the game as well, the Speckle Nose. It said that this enemy is actually based off the game's composer who wears glasses and has somewhat of a bulbous nose.
Yeah, the game's known for its strange sense of humor. Yoshio Sakamoto did the pixel art for Kid Icarus as well as a few other things. He jumped full onto its development after the completion of Metroid, and many of Kid Icarus' out-of-place elements, such as the credit card or eggplant wizard, took shape after he joined.
Speaking of which, eggplants appear in a lot of Nintendo games from that era. Adventure Island, Ice Climber, Wrecking Crew, and perhaps a few more all featured eggplants. There are certain Japanese beliefs that discourage pregnant women from eating eggplants, and I was able to dig up this proverb while doing research. Akitsuna wa yome ni kuwansuna. Do not let your daughter-in-law eat autumn eggplants. It refers to the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, a traditionally poor one, and that a mean mother-in-law would not share an eggplant with her daughter-in-law. Not quite sure why they were so specific with sharing eggplants, but that just goes to show how deep-rooted some of this stuff can be.
I see what you did there.
Going back a bit, in Uprising, a new enemy called the Tempura Wizard makes an appearance. Notice he has one eye, much like the Eggplant Wizard, however he also has a long tongue. This could possibly be reference to Kasa Obake.
Kasa Obake?
Kasa Obake. In Japan, it is said that once certain objects turn a century old, a spirit inhabits it and makes it animate. Kasa Obake are the result of an umbrella reaching the century milestone. Notice that Kasa Obake are depicted with a single eye and a long tongue, much like the Tempura Wizard. Does this mean that the Tempura Wizard is nothing more than just an old bowl of centuries-old udon gone bad?
You know, I think the Tempura Wizard might also be a reference to Homer's Odyssey, in which a Cyclops eats 4 of Odysseus' comrades, just like how the Tempura Wizard eats Pit.
Say, who are those handsome gentlemen?
Oh, those guys are, Sholmes? That's a weird name.
Actually, I believe Shlum is the localization version of Shurumu, which probably comes from the word shrooms.
Insert drug joke here.
You know, that might actually be the reason why the localization team went with Shlum instead of Shroom. The word is closely associated with drug use, and Nintendo really liked maintaining a squeaky clean image back then. Still does, really. Also, and this is only speculation, but could the name Pit come from the katakana pronounced word Cupido?
What?
Well, the katakana for Cupid looks like this. Cupido. If you take off the beginning, you're left with this. Pido, or Pid. And Pit's name looks like this. Pito, or Pit. As you can see, they're not all that different in spelling or sound. Once again, this is all just guesswork. But even in English, the Pid part of Cupid and Pit sounds and looks a lot alike.
So, it's always seemed to me that Pit has had more in common with the Greek hero Perseus than he ever did Cupid or even Icarus. In the tale of Perseus, Athena gives Perseus a reflective shield to aid in his quest to slay Medusa. In Kid Icarus, Pit must use the mirror shield to slay Medusa, much like Perseus, and save Palutena, who, as we remember, was based on Athena, and Athena was the one who gave Perseus the shield we mentioned earlier. Perseus was also given winged sandals to fly, and he was known to ride a Pegasus. In the last level of Kid Icarus, Pit dons an item called the Wings of Pegasus in order to fly. Also, as we touched on earlier, Kid Icarus wasn't even the game's original title in Japan. And, to my knowledge, the name Icarus wasn't even mentioned in Japan until Brawl, where Pit's up B move was called the Wings of Icarus.
To be fair, after the first game, a few homages were paid to the tale of Icarus, such as Pit's wings falling off after the end of Myths and Monsters, as well as them crumbling in Uprising once Pit reaches the time limit using the Gift of Flight. Well, Ronnie, I think that's as much time for random information about Kid Icarus that we have for now. I think we're starting to push the limits of our time, and I think our audience.
I suppose you're right. It was fun, though, and there was a lot to learn from all of this.
Yep! Well, folks, thanks for watching. This is Gaijin Goomba.
And Ronnie Edwards.
Signing out.